Hi, everyone. Before I start the meditation, I have to tell you about something really kind of fun. I'm geeking out at the moment because I have been listening to Big Finish audios of Doctor Who for the last couple of days, and there's some really great stories out there. So if you ever get a chance, go to Big Finish and have a look. It's very, very cool. If you're into sci-fi and stuff, they have a lot of really cool stories on CD. So it's like radio shows of old, and it's just amazing. And so that's what I was doing. I was listening to Doctor Who story, and then today I put one on and they started talking about dreams. And I thought, wow, this is very cool. They're talking about dreams and about what goes on in people's minds when they and what causes them to dream. And it was just really, really interesting. And I thought, wow, this is kind of coinciding with everything that I've been doing with the dreams and with having chats with Metatron about the dreams and about what they mean and what they're in reference to. So I just thought I'd share that because I thought it was very cool, and I just thought, that this is how sometimes how the meditations kind of filter into everyday activities, and you don't even realize it until like much later. So that's what I was going to tell you, and I just thought it was very neat. So anyway, I'm going to pull out my tarot cards. Hopefully, I don't pull the death card today. Pulled it yesterday. I don't know why, but at any rate, I did. And I thought, wow, this is like, okay, this is kind of kind of what it is. But at any rate, so I'm going to pull the cards, see what I come up with. Funny, the Fool is in the middle where I kind of split the deck. So okay, I'm walking off a hillside somewhere, just doing the thing. But at any rate, so here we go. I don't think there's really any significance to that by pulling that card, but it would be funny if it comes up in the spread today. But at any rate, I'm not really sure that's so coincidental. I mean, some things are too coincidental to be real. But you can see I'm shuffling these, and I'm not. I have no idea where the Fool card is at this point in time, but my guides probably do. Okay, so the card for today is the Five of Swords. And this guy's like holding his swords and barishing one of them. And it looks like he's trying to stockpile. And I mean, that's just the initial impression that I get, that this guy wants everything for himself, and he's trying to ward off anybody who tries to come in and take it away from him. That really does coincide with the dream, actually. So, because we're talking about an area that is really kind of interesting. So, I just think it's very fascinating that I pulled this card where you've got this one dude who is like wanting to keep everybody from getting the rest of his swords. I don't know if that's what that card means, but that's the feeling I get. And I'm going to go with my feeling on this, and maybe later I'll pull out the book and see if I'm actually somewhere in the ballpark on that. But at any rate, I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to get started on meditation. You like my monkeys t-shirt? They're my favorite group. So my best friend had sent me this for my birthday or Christmas or so about 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, I'm babbling. Okay, here we're on day 17th. It's May 21st, 2025, and the title is The Library. Now, I've had dreams on the library. I've had like different dreams where I've talked about libraries. Well, here's another one where the library comes up. I said, I must be a geek or something because I like books, and yeah. But at any rate, here we go. I said, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. It sounds like a song, but in reality, that is what it is. Outside of our window, we had a view of nature. Today, it is destroyed. Metatron says, that's industrialization for you. At the very least, you do have a special place to walk to. I said, that's true. Oh well, the dream I have today is called the library. It seems as though I do have some recurring dreams about libraries and books. And Metatron says, well, do tell. And I said, the library was a special place in the heart of a large city. While all of the other libraries had large amounts of funding, this one was entirely community-based. Wait a minute. The theme of community is emerging yet again. And Metatron says, indeed, good catch on that one. We can address that when you finish telling about the dream. I said, okay. It was housed in a large rustic building, and unlike its contemporaries, its collection was entirely made up from donations from the community. Being inside, it was like being embraced in a warm hug, and I found myself wanting to give every book I did not need in my house to it. As I was being driven to what I believe was the airport, the person driving was actually complaining about the city ceasing their funding to the more modern libraries, and how this one, because it was being funded by the community, was not in danger of closure. Then I woke up, but the last thing I remember before waking up was walking towards a door leading inside. And then as I wrote this down, I had the sensation that I was smelling the fragrance of old books, or the sense that I was walking into a place that housed books. Metatron says, you summed up the dream early on. As you were writing this down, you could see that there was the consistent themes, or the constant themes of community. There's a vital idea to surviving in these times, in these uncertain times. The library that you dreamt about was like a sense of community. You have an established community of people who are willing to help others out. The knowing that you are surrounded by a community of caring people is a great asset and blessing. I said, when? And then he says, when was this dream? Dated March 14th, 2024. Was there a prediction about the necessity of community? I mean, today the intuitives are talking on the loop about the importance of community. And Metatron says, it is, and you notice that the necessary recipe for overcoming the challenges that you and others are facing, is encapsulated in the state of community. The days of rugged individualism are over. You are no longer bound by them. The people are coming out of their homes and joining together in unity. The dark forces want more than anything to isolate the people, make them think that they are alone in the world. The person in your dream who was complaining is the same person who voted to isolate him or herself from society. They are now realizing how alone they truly are. These are the people who are complaining about community because it is what they lack. The question of why it is that these things about them affect them in is far more profound way than the things that affect you. The reason the voters voted for this authoritarian rule are more affected by their ruler is because they do not have the community intact. I'm sorry, I have to read that again because I just got kind of squirrely brained. He said, the question of why it is that these things affect them in a far more profound way than the things that affect you. And the reason for that is that the voters for this authoritarian rule are more affected by their ruler because they do not have the community intact. When they do connect with one another, what do? Bitch and moan about unfair life, how unfair life is, or how the other have created their problems. You see, this is why the intuitives are saying that this will affect them on a far grander scale than it would affect you. These people are isolated, but not physically. Instead, they are isolated in their mind by their thoughts. What they do is complain about what they feel is being robbed from them instead of understanding that it's not centered on them. Why is it that you and people like you who are in their spiritual journey are having an easier go of things? Why did you get through cancer with as much as you did, with as much ease as you did? Sure, you were scared, but your positive mindset enabled you to overcome the obstacle in a mindset that helped you to heal. Do those people have that mindset? No. And because they don't, they feel sorry for themselves. I said, yeah, well, I've hosted pity parties before myself. It's part of being human. Metatron says, true. but you did not push the other people away first. You see, when you are loving and kind and you embrace your community, that love and care returns to you, even when you are sad or having a bad day. Yesterday we spoke about emotions. You pulled the death card, and instead of seeing it as a physical death, you saw it as a new cycle. The death card does sometimes mean physical death, but in this instance, it was about the emotions. How much do you want to emanate within your community? That is to say, how optimistic are you in any given situation? When you live in a positive way, all the while realizing that you have bad days, people accept it. But if all you are consumed with is anger and hate, then you push people away. There lies a massive difference between feeling sad and dispelling hate. The people who are doing that will perhaps find a community of their own, but it will be so encased in their disharmony that the point of the community will be lost. This is why it is absolutely imperative for people to embrace their community. The library was a prediction of what would ultimately come to pass. You will need your community, but you will also need to do the internal work with yourself. The validity of your community will not only rest on how you perceive others, but also on how you perceive yourself. I said, so I'm having dreams that are reoccurring, and they are based on community and how important it is. Metatron, what will happen to those who are rugged individualists? Metatron says they will either have to adapt to the newness of their situation and experience, or they will perish. I said, that sounds harsh. And Metatron says, no more harsh than the malice they spew towards those who are not as they themselves are. I said, have you no empathy for them? Metatron says, I have nothing for them. An angel and guide are not emotionally invested in the actions of people. Sure, when things go well, we revel in your joy, and when things do not, we hold you in love. But the difference or distinction is that you acknowledge us and care for us. We do not thrive on the sadness of those who reject or believe that we are contrary to what we are. We simply do not feel anything. You asked Ramon the other day if he felt hurt or insulted by you, in your words, ignoring him. The reality is, you did not ignore him. You were speaking with me. That is not grounds for a guide to feel ignored or hurt. It is what it is. You are going to understand that when you speak to your friends, that when you look at the person, it does not mean or imply that you are shutting out another person. It merely is what it is. There is no room for ego here. And I said, is it possible that those who shut off their community are encased in their ego? Metatron says, it is more than possible. It is blatantly probable. You are not limited to the idea that this is all about you, but it is about community. You have a team, everyone does, but it is a choice as to whether or not you listen to them. That is why the ego can be so dangerous. It blocks people of their conscience. When someone who understands community is conscientious choice, then they are able to tap into it. The long and the short of it is relation to what is going on. The tyrant wants or desires people to be isolated from one another. Divide and conquer. The notion is people are weaker, divided, and when united in a community, they will be stronger and ultimately will defeat the tyrant. To the tyrant, the sense of community poses the greatest danger to them and their authority. Your dream about the smell of books and the rustic library is an idea of taking the ancient wisdom and applying it. In the days of old, I don't mean 1970s, I mean further back. Go back a few centuries. The farmers and the people, the aristocracy called peasants were gathered in what today could loosely be referred to as communes. These communes consisted of local leaders and groups of people united in a common goal: feed one another, clothe one another, and be there for and support one another. These individuals had no time to focus entirely on themselves. Instead, they focused on the common good. The idea that people are not in this life to raise themselves individually, but to raise their community. If one person prospers, they all prosper. I said, I grew up hearing on a loop that this was communism. They stigmatized the idea to such a degree that people stopped caring for each other. And Metatron says, then you just answered your own question. The ideals that were sparked from communal life have been gravely misconstrued by the notion of rugged individualism. People have all but lost that sense of community, and you see this living in Europe. You have, outside of work and family, various groups and activities that enhance that sense of community. You are not limited by how many friends you have, by what you have, that is essentially those common interests. This was something you felt was missing when you were in the U.S. Why is that? I said, well, beyond politics, I've always had the feeling that it was all about work. People live to work instead of work to live. I don't mean work to live in a sense that one has to do work to have a good life or live one's best life. In Germany, we have good work ethic. People get to take 6 weeks of vacation here. They generally get paid time off. The social safety net enables people to enjoy their lives and not feel as if they don't work, they don't eat. The idea has basically been vilified by people in the U.S. If they don't work, they don't eat. It's in essence a country that still has, and my voice trailed off, and Metatron says, the words you are looking for are indentured servants. I said the minimum wage in the U.S. is $7.25. In Europe, or more specifically in Germany, the last time I checked, it was 12.82 euros, which is close to about double the U.S. wage. People here work twice as hard. People have to work twice as hard to maintain a level of life that equates to that in Europe. Prices are higher here, but the standard of life is better. After working a 9-to-5 job here, people can afford to join choirs and sewing circles. Whereas in the U.S., they're off to work a second job. That is heartbreaking, but it seems as though the design of it is in place to continue to isolate the people from one another and make them think that they really are on their own. Metatron says, you hit the nail on the head, and now the U.S. is quickly reaching the boiling point. People are recognizing that there has to be more to life than trying to continue a system that serves no one except super wealthy and those who have gamed the system to become very wealthy. This is the design, and up until now, it has been successful at keeping people down and letting them blame those who are not like them for the problems that exist. I said, so look at the shiny object. And Metatron says, yes, you are having dreams about the importance of community. Keep sharing this message. It will inspire others to seek out their communities. I said, will things get better? And Metatron says, as soon as people recognize this and the significance of building a community, yes, it will get better. But, and this is a big but, people must let go of their hate, their prejudice, and acknowledge that all humans are one with the source. They may appear different, but the truth is all people have similar goals and ambitions. They want to live in freedom, follow their heart's desires, and continue to be what they are created to be. That is all that it is about. Once they recognize this, they will understand that as a force, they can be unstoppable. The problem is, as things stand, people on the surface believe they are weak and insignificant. I said, not a very hopeful place to end on. Metatron says, quite the contrary. The first step of many is to recognize what does not work. I said, something tells me you will be guiding us along in this. Metatron says, yes, I will, as will your guides and spiritual lead teachers. And I said, that gives me hope. And that's where we ended. So, yeah, the topic of community is one that has been really just on loop by many intuitives. People are saying we need to focus on our communities. We need to focus on the communities of the people, and not on simply deciding to not simply deciding to just look out for themselves and not for anybody else. So back to the card. Here's the Five of Swords, and this is what the book says. In the breaking light of day, we witness what has been battleground scene. A lone figure stands holding 5 swords in a victorious pose, appearing totally oblivious to the suffering and devastation of those around him. There is no flying banners here to signify him as a hero, nor his actions as any to celebrate. The 5 of Swords shows that an element of deceit may be at work. Someone is not being honest in their dealings. There may be a hidden agenda or some form of underhandedness. It may represent something that is lost in an unfair manner, or perhaps someone leaving suddenly without any proper explanation or truth, showing insensitivity to those concerned. As the card that can show dishonor, defeat, or loss, it warns you to be careful. It also indicates that selfish victories are short-lived, so you must also ensure that you operate in an ethical manner in all of your undertakings. So, yeah, I think I was seemingly right with my interpretation of this. This is indeed what has happened. People have become so isolated in their things that they think that they have this victory, but in reality, it's not. It's anything but a victory. It is heartbreaking and it's very sad. And people are slowly coming to realize that this is where the situation is at right now. I'm going to pull another card. Hopefully this. And I pulled the Queen of Pentacles. She's beautiful. And the Queen of Pentacles, I haven't really encountered this card before, so I'm going to look it up here. Okay. Well, I stumble and fumble with this book here. Okay, here we go. Queen of Pentacles. The Queen is wildly maternally secure. By nature, she tends to be warm, generous, practical, money-conscious, and often successful at anything she undertakes, including juggling a career and home. She's not afraid of hard work and would work meticulously and tirelessly in order to succeed. As a result, she lives comfortably. Okay, I'm going to stop reading right there because this is us. This is the people who strive to have community. This is the people that are seeking to become a conscientious member of a community. Success, ambition, drive, determination, overcoming. Whereas these are the people who are angry. They're angry and they're boastful and they try to take from this. And they're failing. They're failing. These are two contradictory cards about the same concept. This is the failure to create a community. This is the success of a community and how we look out for each other. The next card is the Page of Swords. Put this here. And let's see what the Page of Swords has to say. Page of Swords, quite to it. Quick-minded, cool, deep, takes everything in but doesn't speak unnecessarily. Secretive, analytical, tends to make logical decisions, appears quite solemn even when happy, can appear insensitive to others' feelings. Injustice on any level upsets them as they stick to the rules and can't understand others who don't. Okay. So, That is, okay. The fourth card is the Hermit. And I think we're bouncing back and forth between the people who are really creating the communities or building the communities and the people who are not, who just want for them and not for anybody else. And I think that's really kind of telling in what's going on. The Hermit, it says, the Hermit stands on a solitary path dressed in a simple plain robe. He carries only his staff to support him and lantern to illuminate his way. He is depicted as an elderly man with white hair and beard, representing the wisdom of his years. His expression is one of peace. He is comfortable in his solitude and his quest for inner knowledge. So even if you're alone, even if you're a loner and you don't really like people, you prefer your cat or your dog, this tells me that this person, this soul person who is very internal, is actually also a good member of a community. So if you're a quiet, solitude person, if you like just staying quiet, staying in the corner, but if you contribute to your community, you'll still reap the benefits of that community, even if you're really quiet and not very vocal. And I don't think this is the final outcome, but I think that this does tell a great deal. The Three of Swords is very disappointment, sadness, heartbreak. And I think that the real heartbreak is with this person here. I think that this is where community is going to succeed, but whatever this person tries to do, he will ultimately fail. So you've got a great many different kinds of people coming together to create a community, but you've got these two who are going to end up heartbroken because they do not embrace the notion that community is significant. The reality is community is very important. This has been something that has been said by the intuitives on YouTube. It has been said by my guides. It has been said by Metatron. Everybody is saying the same thing. Community, community, community. That is what's going to hold people together, and that is what's going to get everyone through the messes that have been created, specifically in the U.S. So hold on to your community, embrace it, and take care of it, and nurture it. And with that, I will say thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I wish you a wonderful day. Take care. And as always, namaste.